I hope that they are deaf and dumb and their ends can come very fast. I hope that they continue to act with impunity, disrespect, and they continue to trample and debase our people to the point that they're angry enough to say enough is enough. And you know, the night of the Cuban Revolution, the elites were drinking champagne and saying Cuban people are foolish. The night of the French Revolution, the House of Bourbons were having weddings, they were having fun until they fell. 100 years later, they got back together and said they want to come back. The people of France said, no, this is never going to happen again. So I hope Nigerians continue to organize, continue to engage, discuss with themselves how to liberate themselves. Ultimately, and I'll keep saying it, a revolution is what will come and clean all of this up. I think that the elites are surprised that they have gone on for this long without that kind of uprising. I'm sure they sit down and say, what's wrong with these Nigerian people? Why haven't they come after us? And when they don't, they become emboldened. But in every society where ultimate revolutionary change has changed the conditioning of the mind of the oppressor, of the thieves, and those who don't let them make progress, what they are doing in Nigeria now is what they have always done. They get to a point where they are comfortable in their impunity, they take the people for granted, and one day, one small spark will just end it all for all of them. That's why I said, I hope they don't listen. And President Tinubu just did what godfathers are known for, taking absolute control of the space whenever they are granted the opportunity to do so. But he's not just doing it as a godfather, he's abusing his position as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what is interesting is that there is a conspiracy around this. All the arms of government at this point are being handled by three major godfathers. Number one is the FCT minister, who is now clearly, before Nigerians, in charge of the Nigerian judiciary. The Senate president, who also is clearly in charge of the legislative arm, and President Tinubu, who has brought in the executive. These three conspirators were both former governors, senators, and some of the people that I have described as having risen through the ranks of impunity and made it to the top. That's why Nigeria is in trouble with what they did. Don't forget, this same President Tinubu, when he was Lagos State Governor, promised the President of Nigeria then that if he declared a state of emergency in Lagos, that would be the end of democracy. He's president now, and he has done it, and he has done it with absolute power, and daring the Nigerian people to challenge him or do anything about it. This is very unfortunate, but as you have seen, this might as well be the beginning of the downfall of more godfathers. What you must understand is, as a follow-up to how I stated this earlier about the three major gladiators now in the country, as in Akpabio in the Senate, Wike interested in taking over Rivers, Tinubu being firmly in control of Lagos, is that these three individuals have been former governors of Nigeria's most lucrative states. I'm talking about Rivers, Lagos, and Akwa Ibom. And what they want to do, this is all about resources, and they want to hijack and control these states and control the entire country, silence everybody who might want to have a difference of opinion, and then just move on to consolidate their total control. In some cases, and you will see more of these, criminal control of the Nigerian political and social and economic space. This is referred to as state capture. I'm not in any way endorsing any of these governors. I have stated elsewhere, and I'll restate here, that I have no sympathy for Sim Fumbara. It was his own Sim that provided the network for the Wike to carry out the impunity he carried out, the corruption he carried out in Rivers State until he left to Abuja. So they are partners in crime. But that is to say that we do not endorse that. The Nigerian citizenship do not want governors who consolidate power, run to the Senate or run to the presidency, and then hold their state by the jugular. Don't forget that most of these former governors are already collecting, very, very crazy pension. Some of them have houses built for them. They're entitled to almost twice whatever privileges they were enjoying when they are governors. What do they want from Nigeria? Why do they want to hold Nigeria in total stranglehold? Is what we are faced with, and that is what we should be discussing. Not to think about what is their taste for ice cream or kunu or suya. No. So I'm not here to discuss what a governor prefers or not. I'm here to discuss what is unacceptable to the Nigerian people, to the Nigerian polity, and how people who are carrying out this impunity that we are discussing today should not be allowed to continue in their impunity against the democracy I fought for, he fought for, and that the people of this country ought to be benefiting from. I'm not participating in their fight. Honestly, this is their own fight. We are supposed to leave them to, to destroy themselves. But they are not destroying themselves, they are destroying the country. Because at the end of the day, what they are trying to do in Rivers is to get Rivers prepared in such a way that when they come back again, there will be no resistance. Like I said, I don't know what will happen to Fubara. I'm not his therapist. And I don't know whether he'll come back the way he left or not, but it's obvious that the way he folded up was too quick. Let me say this to you. When Wike was governor of Rivers State, nobody could have done this to him without consequences. He would have shut down the whole place. Nobody knew that. When Tinubu was governor of Lagos, he would never have accepted a state of emergency in Lagos. So why is it that they think they can get away with this? It's a question we should be asking, and why they must be resisted to ensure they don't get away with this. Not a day longer than they have had it. Okay. So they don't read the mood of the public, apparently, but they will soon find out that this is not just one of the things that they can do and get away with.
Okay, it's nice. It's interesting that you mentioned the fact that had it been Wike or Tinubu this had happened to, they wouldn't have been able to get away with it. There would have been consequences. But some believe that Governor Fubara acted prematurely in opposing Wike, viewing it as a politically inexperienced move. They argue that proteges should first establish their own power base before taking on their political mentors. So can both of you, give your opinion on this?
I don't know how we go, and this is the reason we should be discussing proper elections and not people who come and organize charades.
Yeah, but these are the realities on ground, though.
And they select their handpicked
These are the realities on ground.
Otherwise, if the people had voted in elections in the past and they vote for their own candidate to rule them or govern them, we will not be having this conversation about agreement. We're having it. Of agreement is agreement.
So we're having it now because this is what
the treasury of a state is something that we should be saying maybe we should be matured about. We're talking about crime here. We're talking about economic crime.
We're
talking about criminal offenses being committed by people. We are talking about the violation of the Constitution. We are talking about treason here. And you are saying, oh, there should have been some maturity. Maturity to do what?
No,
what is Godfather? What is God's son?
No,
is that what
it exists.
Is that what democracy is about?
But it exists. That's why we're discussing it. It exists. We cannot pretend that it doesn't. We all know the right ways to go about these things.
It may exist, but it's not acceptable.
Nobody's saying that it is. Nobody's saying that it is. I've never argued that it is.
I'm not here to act as a teddy bear for impunity. I'm not here to hug what is wrong and say, oh, because it exists. It might exist. That's their own problem.
Yeah, but
you cannot use it to truncate the aspirations of a people. You can't use it to suppress development. You can't use it to violate even your own constitution. I mean, their own constitution, because this is part of the problem. If there was a people's constitution in this country, there's no way you could have people who can just wake up and do what they like, and then we say, well, it's all right. They do it elsewhere.
But you have to understand.
Why don't we do things they do elsewhere, like constructing roads and funding education and building hospitals that we can go to?
We understand everything that you're saying. And
drinkable and potable water.
We also know that's the right way forward. So, do you believe these three sectors have been compromised? National Assembly, the executive...
They have been compromised, completely compromised. They have been completely compromised. There's no question about it. But I wanted to follow up on one of the things he said about those who fought for democracy. And that's why sometimes we should be careful about what we fight against. Some of the people who were fighting for democracy in the 90s weren't actually fighting for democracy. They were fighting because they were jealous of what the military guys were doing, that they wish they were in that position. And now that they have gotten to the position that the military guys were in the 90s, you could tell what their interest was. It was to become as powerful as the military guys that they claimed they were fighting against. And if you look at their trajectory, their history, and the stories that came when they were in exile, they weren't fighting for democracy. They were doing business. The second aspect of it is the issue of opposition. The governors of states across the country are all united under the Tinubu regime. They support him even more than his own governors from his own political party. And the reason is simple. They are getting massive allocations that they've never gotten before, stealing and getting away with it. And they cannot wish for a better time than now. So it is the reason why people like me have also warned Nigerians that during this period, you are going to see people who say they are forming coalitions, not because they want to get rid of Tinubu, but because they want to replace Tinubu and his own people and this godfather, because they really envy them at this time and say, my goodness, we wish we were the ones in power. We can steal your money. We can do anything and nothing will happen. We can capture the state. That's where I mentioned to you that this is about state capture. And don't forget that part. I'm not here to argue that maybe somebody should have been matured enough. And at any rate, let's be very clear, the elite who are involved in this fight will eventually settle their differences. But the people who have been entertained by this will be left worse than they met them, because this is also about distracting you from what should have been political, economic, and social governance and justice in the land. They are just pushing you aside, pushing your issues around. So while you are hungry, while you are dying, while your roads are bad, while insecurity has overwhelmed the country, they are there just entertaining you with things that they will resolve amongst themselves.
Okay, let me
For instance,
okay, go on.
Yesterday already, the sole administrator has met traditional rulers, former government officials. You would think that nothing is wrong in Port Harcourt, because all of them are one and the same. And that is why the Nigerian people must take their destinies in their own hand.